Hello everybody, welcome to Collegiate Exclusive, live from LAN in Chattanooga, Tennessee. We're dealing with some technical difficulties, so if anything pops up, spam chat, we're keeping an eye on it, but we are live. Hopefully it sounds good, hopefully it looks decent, because that's what we're going for today. Most importantly though, TJ and I are live in person, together, fist bump. We got Nutty in the background as well, doing business things. He's the TO of the Scenic City Invitational LAN here, and that's where we're at right now. We're at UT Chattanooga.
Indeed.
And we're in their esports complex. So, TJ, how was your day?
I mean, I got to start off with this. I was not familiar with Tennessee Chattanooga's game. Campus is beautiful.
Yeah.
A little hilly, don't get me wrong, but nothing wrong with that. Used to that at UGA, but
Yeah.
Either way, beautiful campus, beautiful people we're working with. They do such a great job. Casting was wonderful throughout the day. Obviously, me and my boys had a good day in the office, but
Yeah.
I mean, I know our toughest challenges are yet to come, and that probably goes for production and staff and all of us as well. Is I think the best part about this LAN is that we not only get to go from this venue to another, we go from this lab to a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that in a little bit.
Fourth largest Comic-Con, apparently. That's what I've heard. So you got the big three, San Diego, LA, New York, and apparently Chattanooga is also pretty big. And so we're going to be in the Chattanooga Convention Center for the next 2 days. So if you're around the area, come watch. I don't know if, I assume tickets are still available. I don't know how hot a commodity. Yeah, we got Nutty confirming in the background. So come stop by, come watch teams play on LAN. $3,000 prize pool as well, which is not too shabby. Was that bigger than CRL Opens?
I didn't say it. I didn't say it.
Look, the community's been doing a lot of heavy lifting in the CRL scene for a while now.
Amen to that.
And we're going to talk about CRL. We're going to talk a lot about the community stuff going on in the scene. So I say we jump straight into it and start talking CRL, because I mean you can see the headline down there. That's the big thing. The groups are out, signups are closed. We don't have any of Akron B, which is Akron Gold, Wichita State, Columbia, or Maryville. And those are the big names missing.
And not to mention that, but it is crazy how we miss, and I'm going to get into events here, and then we'll get back to the main point. I want to go derail this conversation for a second.
Okay.
So we go from having no Hugh Fest, we go from having no LANs to kick the year off, to now there is 3 separate Rocket League LANs that are happening this weekend alone. Now granted, only 2 of them are collegiate. One is with me and my KCP crew over at the Kansas City Speedway.
Yeah.
You should check that out. Also check where we're at right now, UTC Esports _. But the other one we're going to talk about towards the very end is also one being held in Michigan, which we briefly have mentioned in the past on episode 9, I believe, and also on our Twitter accounts as well.
Yeah.
But I'm going to save that. So anyways, having these teams here wanting to prioritize LAN or other personal reasons, that's what Wichita's doing. That is what Columbia is doing. Akron B, Jan unfortunately had some career-related reasons because
Which is good.
Yes,
focus on career and academics first.
He's a scholar athlete for sure. He's a student athlete, student first. But it still sucks that Milio is here competing on LAN. But then when Sunday rolls around, they're going to wrap up with hopefully what is a top 3, top 4 run for them.
Yeah.
Or maybe even higher than that. And then Milio will just have to sit back and let his boys play while he has to watch.
Yeah, hopefully coaches be the Emilio mental coach behind the Akron Blue Boys. But I do want to shout out Champ League. The Twitter's not working, so you're going to get the reflection phone sharing.
We can read it off.
Yeah. So that's the gist. I wanted to at least give him credit because we did not discover that there was no Columbia, Wichita, or Akron Gold because we knew about Maryville. That's the big one. Because, dude, it's been a long day.
It has been a long day.
I haven't had dinner yet, so
yeah, we're both starving.
Bear with us. But no Maryville.
Yes.
No, Ixo is gone.
Yes.
He is off to coach GK, which is great because that's kind of Maryville's MO is to
Put players in pro scene.
Yes, whether it's playing or coaching or whatever it is. And so now they've just kind of chopped it up. They're just like, we're not going to play with the fill-in, which is their graphic designer apparently. And so, no Maryville.
But also, I do believe they have already forfeited their matches in Nate's. I believe they already did last time we checked. So they do have a fill-in, but they are not going to use the fill-in for their 2 largest opportunities. And we're not going to see Ixo come back for even the closed, or not the closed qualifier. I don't think Ixo is going to even be able to make it for the Opens.
No.
Because obviously, as you guys know, RLCS is coming in a few months, 2 months really. We're almost there. And things are going to hit the fan. I mean, GK obviously a very contending roster if they're able to stick together, or even if they move a few guys around. You're going to see EXO on a lot of RL Esports streams. So big ups to EXO. I'm very happy for him, but I also do hate it for Maryville because they are such a dominant program, a Cumberland-style program. You normally see them two going head-to-head, and now they lose out on Rocket League for the entire fall. But from what we hear, spring, they're going to be just fine waiting for that next player.
Yeah, those are some rumors we might talk about later on in the fall. But for now, no Maryville. So everyone effectively gets bumped up in power rankings, which is cool. We'll see a team in league play that wouldn't have been there otherwise. So that's a neat change. But the other three come as a result of CRL being announced 2 weeks before the first open. I made a video covering the CRL formats and my gripes with it. And I was like, in my head, I couldn't remember how many weeks they had announced before. I was like 3 or 4 weeks. And no, it's 2 weeks, literally 2 weeks, heads up, because there weren't rumblings about it beforehand. And so, yeah, no Akron, Wichita State, or Columbia. And I'm sure some other, maybe like a little bit less notable schools. But we should have everyone competing in CRL Opens. It's just how it should be.
Which also there's rumors, I mean, obviously they are not on this first 4 list, but Northwood playing at a huge $10,000 LAN this weekend, they may actually be forced to drop out of their pool.
Yeah.
Now, in terms of what that does for the next team up in that pool, whoever it may be, I'm not going to say it's a fraudulent spot, but Northwood is pretty unbeatable online, so I don't think that argument's too far gone either. But not to mention that they're going to be forced because they wanted to go make this move. And that means that you guys are going to see Northwood in the Opens if that's how things play out on Sunday. Now, granted, that's not confirmed. We still have some time left before we kind of confirm that they're going to drop out. But we will have to see. But it stinks for Northwood and Maryville. You're losing 2 of your arguably top 3.
Yeah, and we can talk about the brackets, I think. I'm going to pull those up. It should work. Like I said, different setup, so things might get a little weird. Prepare to be flashbanged with Start GG. I'm going to have to actually crop it.
No dark mode.
No dark mode, none of the usual commodities that we have when I'm on my regular setup, so... Give me just a moment.
I'll preface while MrBepic here is doing his duty and running the show, as
Boom.
he always does. There we go. So let's talk about it, right?
Yeah.
The fact that we could see St. Edwards with their incomplete roster make it out of Pool 1, I want to start there. But I also think that if Northwood do drop out and LCU is the team that comes in, I have been waiting for this team to shine for so long.
They've looked good recently, too. It was reported as a 4-0 in the NECC over Oklahoma Christian, but apparently that was a forfeit. That was just reported as 4-game wins for LCU. So I'm not entirely certain if that win does count. But they look good against Bruton Parker in NACE. I liked what I saw from LCU. And for those wondering, this was reported falsely a couple of days ago. LCU is playing with Nasirium as their third, not Beastie. So do keep that in mind when talking about Lubbock Christian. But yeah, I mean, Pool 1, great competition if Northwood drops out for that league play spot. And even if they don't drop out, it's still good competition to see who's going to maybe get a shot at Northwood here. Because I think of those top 4, and I can click on it. This is going to be dangerous. Let's see how it's cropped.
Okay, no, it works beautifully, actually. It's perfect.
Okay, sick. So who do we have? We've got...
So Northwood, obviously, easy first-round bye. LCU, St. Edwards, no problem. If you want to talk about sleeper rosters, right, in terms of contenders, you have to talk about San Diego State and Florida, who will probably end up seeing each other in that winner's quarterfinal. But again, I want to root for my boys on both those teams. But in terms of people who can contend with Northwood, I think it's LCU or bust.
Yeah, St. Edwards has looked up and down. They've had strong moments.
And they'll be on LAN for the qual.
And
they'll be here with us.
So uncomfortable spot for them too. And then the 4th seed, San Diego State. 5th seed is Florida. So yeah, I mean, largely its teams still going to prove themselves outside of LCU, who have kind of done well to prove themselves. But man, if Northwood drops out, it might be anyone's game.
I mean, I really want to sit here and say that LCU should have a free bracket, but if St. Edwards can tune up tomorrow through the Scenic City Invitational, and they're in a spot where even if they go the full distance and they go out top 6, that's a win in my opinion for St. Edwards based on what's happened this weekend. Not to mention that they had to reverse sweep UTK to even survive. Not the entire event, but to at least stay in upper bracket. So I think that they have potential. We're going to talk about Scenic City, and we'll talk about what we're seeing from these teams later.
Yeah.
But I'm leaning LCU. I feel like an 80-20% win for them if Northwood drops out.
And then Pool 2, your boys in Concord, Michigan State, Indiana Tech, and Conestoga, which is a pretty good pool. And I mean, I'm looking at these pools, and I'm not sure I see many spots where the top seed shouldn't be heavy favorites to get in. That's just how CRL is right now. But Indiana Tech is pretty hot right now. Michigan State, I think, can be a very hot team in bracket play. And Conestoga just 4-0'd St. Clair Gold, so maybe they do something crazy too.
I'm willing to hear out the Canada buff. I'm willing to hear that out. But I do think that Michigan State, Indiana Tech should be a lock for that losers final. Now, granted, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and talk too much trash because I respect the players and love the players on both those teams. I would be happy seeing either one of them in a winners in a grand final. And also, this is a good point to bring up that the qualifying format, it's double elimination, but that means it is bracket reset.
Oh, really?
So
it's bracket reset?
Yes, and my boy, my lovely TO boy Vaudable has confirmed that today. So I know that to be a fact, and that's rough. Because if you lose the winner's final on what's going to be a 6-hour qual day or a 5-hour qual day, it's going to be rough no matter how you look at it. There's too many teams. It's going to be awful, but you're going to have to try and survive it. And God help if you have to bracket reset like we could potentially see towards some of those other pools.
Okay, yeah, keep that in mind. I didn't even think about that fact, how it is 8 pools, and so you do need a winner. There aren't just there isn't one spot through uppers, one spot through lowers. And I mean, Pool 3, St. Clair, Boise, George Mason, and Brock. And George Mason, I assume they'll have memory for this.
We'll have to ask Tihan tomorrow. We don't have a confirmation on that, but as of right now, they are showing up here in person with Proto, which, don't get me wrong, I'm a Proto believer, B+ for a reason, great player, but has fallen flat with his boys here, and Kinsey's been really the only big flash from that team. Now, if Memory's on that team and him and Kinsey work together, I like their odds, but we'll have to see. Krazix has a lot after today that I'm waiting to be revealed, and I know Krazix is a very talented player, but I think just kind of getting back into the swing of things, LAN especially, it's kind of hitting this George Mason team a little hard. So again, a team that has to play here on LAN to make it out.
And we are getting to the pools where competition is a little bit closer. So if you're in chat right now, I want to do something we rarely do, like chat interaction, where you should all post who you think is going to make it out of the pool as we talk about it. So I dare you guys to do that. And I love the 5 stars love, by the way. Hot Shot showing 5 stars some love. Somber the same. Maybe San Diego State have a dream run, because 5 stars has been very, very adamant that they are a better team than I'm ranking them. So
hey, we get to see that team on LAN this year. They will be in Atlanta for DreamHack.
That is a long trip.
But the program was able to fund it. So shout out 5 stars, shout out San Diego State.
All right, well, Pool 4. All right, so everyone drop in the chat who you think is going to make it out of Pool 4. Winthrop, definite favorites, but, I mean, Davenport, Bruton Parker Christian University, St. Clair Gold, those are 3 teams that have had some up and down results so far.
If I'm being completely honest, I'm not going to sit here and talk about scrim results because I've talked negatively on people who do that. But I feel like based on what I have seen both publicly and privately, we've played both these teams as well. And so I want to say Winthrop should have no issues. This is one of those pools that if Davenport does not get Winthrop in uppers, I think it is chalked before they even get back to the grand final. Regardless of which team makes it, if Winthrop makes it through uppers with no problems, I feel the same way about this pool that I do about our pool. As long as we survive and make it through winners, I think it's already over. Bracket resets, even best of 5. That's a lot to ask, and I'm not sure if Davenport's got it in them.
Yeah, we would have to really see a big pop-off from whoever does get shots at Winthrop. And meanwhile, they're fighting off everyone else in the pool. And I am kind of curious who else is in the pool, because St. Clair's the 4 seed, so...
Sleeper quarterfinal right there. Or not even a sleeper quarterfinal, a marquee quarterfinal. Getting Bruton Parker Christian. That is the main team, I do believe.
Yeah, it is. Wait. They just might have such a long name, that Academy...
Surely it's the main team.
No, it's the Academy.
It is the Academy team. Okay, so where is the main team? They're also in this pool.
Yeah, they're on the lower side. They're on the lower side.
Okay, so those 2 teams will have to play. Okay, so that's how CRL combated the teams from the same school issue. Okay, well, unironically, that Bruton Parker Academy team, they've looked good. They could give St. Clair Gold a scare. I'm just going to hot take now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, hey, Kyler's very adamant. They're a top team.
He had a great time trash talking today. He is very, very adamant about his team.
All right, pool 5, as Winthrop was kind of the consensus for those of you that posted in chat, which makes sense. I think it would be a severe disappointment. The one team that gets shouted out during the CRL announcement if they don't make it to league play. So some pressure on them there. But pool 5, Akron Bloom, Kennesaw State, Oklahoma Christian, WCTC as the top 4 seeds here. What do you think?
I mean, look, I'll say it here. If you're looking for one upset to shock everybody on Sunday, give me WCTC over OC.
Okay.
This is the same thing as the last spring, where OC have kind of been slipping, and we haven't seen them catch themselves yet, and they're falling fast. So I think WCTC, though on paper it is a wide margin between those two teams, experience-wise and wins and losses-wise, I think it's a wide margin, but if I had to put money on it, I like WCTC's chances, especially in a loser semi.
It's one team, Dylan. You can't hedge your bets here. So you either got to back your boys or say it's going to be Akron. Sorry.
I do think I go Akron here, regardless.
Yeah, I mean, that's another instance where I think Kennesaw State can beat Akron. I'm not sure they've shown the form yet. I think it's in there. But Akron with CRL on the line, with Patty playing on LAN as well.
They're buffed.
Yeah.
They're buffed. And I will say, for the first time in a while, they did struggle on LAN today, but I think they're going to be just fine. I mean, Indiana Tech's a very hot roster right now, so no complaints, really no issues there. I think they're going to be just fine. But I haven't seen the total team dominance out of this KSU roster yet.
Yeah.
I still think there's a lot left to get figured out, especially with Kronovi just coming into the lineup. I'm still waiting for them to have a real identity. They can go against what's going to be the most annoying matchup that Kronovi might see all CRL season. I would almost guarantee that. That Akron roster does not play around, and they will piss you off within 5 minutes.
I like this is actually a pretty split group. I think some biases are showing, a couple WCTCs. I respect it. The channel's becoming a bit of a hot spot for WCTC fans, so I appreciate you guys tuning in. Dylan's still got Kennesaw. Albedo's got Kennesaw as well, saying he's got the
Are we the only Akron people?
Yeah.
Did Somber not say Akron? I would have.
Somber said 5 up, so I'm assuming
we're
that
assuming
means
Somber's on our side.
Akron.
Yeah, I think Akron should. I won't say cruise. I think it is a 3-1 with an overtime in there. I think that's how they get out of that one.
Next pool, West Virginia, Fisher, Syracuse, and Leslie.
This one's got real messy potential. Look, I'll go ahead and say it off rip. I'm surprised that Fisher is seated as high as they are here. I will say I haven't seen enough for me to bank on them outside of Royales and his RLCS success. Don't get me wrong, that's great. But with Adam and then Fowles, no hate to those guys, but there's a lot over the last few years that we haven't seen, especially Fowles, who hasn't been in contention of a top 16, top 32 RLCS spot in a very long time. Adam, a very consistent player, but again, also a lot to be desired there. I'm a lot of shocked that Fisher is this high, and I could unironically see this being the easiest pool, because I think this is a Fisher, Syracuse, Leslie grudge match. It's a bloodbath. I think West Virginia, with how hot they've been, I think this is potentially the most, like if I had to put money and predictions on it, I think this is the easiest one that I'm going to bank on.
I think Syracuse have a shot because they've actually really been grinding lately.
True.
Like Tiz, past 2 weeks, and this was last week and I got this information, he was at 120 past 2.
True.
And Lesser's not too far behind that. And with Gababy facilitating, that team is actually scary. And I think they could catch West Virginia off guard. So I'm going to say Syracuse do it. This is totally biased. I was in Syracuse last weekend. But I think they upset West Virginia here. I think this is the first group where I actually think the upset happens.
Wow. I mean, I'm too much of a Dom believer to go with that, but I do think Syracuse beat Fisher, and they beat Leslie. And I think against Leslie, I think because Syracuse is one of the only teams in the top 20 who found a system quick, I mean, they are a team that you can depend on. Now, granted, there's a lot mechanically that they are still learning, especially in the midfield and around each other, I should say. But they play consistent Rocket League. It's kind of a hint of a Northwood style, if you will. And I like that about Syracuse. I like what they're building. So Fisher, a very disorganized team right now. I think they handle business. Leslie, a slightly less disorganized team, but on paper, I don't think it's close. Yeah. But again, it comes down to, are you going to survive that winner's final? If it was game advantage, I'd say, you know what? Maybe Bepic, I'm with you. Yeah. But I can't see them bracket resetting and winning West Virginia, or against West Virginia.
Yeah, okay, fair. Who else, what's the chat saying? Syracuse could, but West Virginia.
I'm seeing a decent amount of West Virginia.
Okay, that's reasonable. I mean, they are definitely the favorites, and with Gyro finally in the starting lineup, I think this is when West Virginia actually have to start getting results.
Yes, and Gyro should be consistently in all of the lineups across all leagues now too, as there's now no more excuses. He's kind of had a nice little acclimation semester. So exciting pool, but again, I feel like it's pretty cut and dry for West Virginia. Bepic feels the other way. We'll see what happens on Sunday.
That's my big upset pick. But Ball State, Baylor, Ball State Black, and Missouri. And this is an interesting one because the two Ball State teams have kind of been trading players. I mean, it was Variety was rumored to be taking Wova's spot, but then Wova ended up keeping the starting spot. So I'm wondering if that weighs in the back of his mind, if that affects the team comp at all, or if this is. I mean, I think this is still Ball State's pool to lose. I think they're just overall solid team that can counter Baylor's play style of feeding Andy and Hoxer, and so I don't know if I see the upset here.
As my heart wants to go Baylor here, because I think that they're also a team who on day one had a system and they're putting JT in it, and he is a gear in a huge set of cogs that is the Baylor system, a very new program to CRL as well. But I do agree, Ball State, I'm going to go against your other point. I don't think they look bad. I don't think they look hesitant, even though Wova has not been fully scrimming with these guys because they were trying out Variety. They maybe have lost maybe a slight step, and if there was 4 pools, I think Ball State lose. But here, I think they get it done. I think they're too consistent. I think Guh and Oath are too dangerous. I think they can match Andy and Hoxer. As crazy as a statement as that is, I think between JT and Wova, it's not close. Too many people sleep on Wova. I mean, it's that Patty random pop-off type of play style that they both share. And I think I'm going Ball State, but I think Baylor go to 5 in winners final. And I think it's pretty dang close. And if Baylor can maybe sneak that series away and it goes to bracket reset, I will say Hoxer and Andy and their adjustments and what we've seen in the NACE games, I like their odds. I think that if they win winners final, I think it's a lock, but that's a tall task.
I do really want to see what Baylor can do in a bracket like this. How many teams can have kind of game plan for JT and the Baylor play style? And I mean, who would they realistically get?
Let's see. And they're gonna. Who is that? The Fisher B team? Is that going to be
Fisher Fly Guys?
Let's see. Oh, it's Press and Kevin. Okay, yeah, they're gonna be okay here. Kevin's great, but poor Press and Trendy have not been on their grind. Now, granted, Ball State Black. Huntington. We could hear that one out. If Huntington cooks up tomorrow after a struggle day today, I'm willing to hear that one out. But also, Baylor should be running the Ball State gauntlet.
Yeah, I think Ball State's really their only competition in that on that side of the bracket.
Yeah.
Both Ball States.
I don't think Missouri gets Ball State Black. I don't think it happens.
Yeah, I mean, Missouri, with Bubs back in the lineup, do you know if they're really grinding? Or
I have not heard a single peep of Missouri grinding.
We'll get an answer this weekend, I guess.
That's why I think Ball State Black, because I know Variety wants it bad, but also, of all the academy teams across the nation, Ball State Black, I think, has now overtaken both Akron Gold and St. Clair Gold. That's a hot take. I know it is, but I think you can make that argument after this weekend that they may be the best B team across the nation.
All right, Ty is saying they scrim them. I'm assuming you mean Missouri, Ty, and they haven't been on the grind?
There's no way they're grinding. Bubs is a Valorant guy now. There's no way. He has cracked at both, but I don't see it.
All right, Battle of the South right here with RCU tossed in there. Cumberland, East Tennessee State, and Ole Miss are the big three. And Cumberland definitely favored after beating ETSU today in kind of a revenge match of losing to them earlier in the week. And then Ole Miss off the back of losing to Indiana Tech in NECC this week might be in a bit of a weird spot.
I think what confuses me is that the last pool is supposed to be the most contended pool, at least in the way I view seeding.
Yeah.
I think that Cumberland should have been higher, which we'll talk power rankings. Cumberland should have been higher in my eyes. I think you can make an argument that right now they're hotter than Ball State and potentially hotter than West Virginia. That's another debate. But also I'm confused again at the seeding on Ole Miss had great results over the summer with a roster that doesn't even exist and still isn't even in writing yet. Cosmic is in no current condition 100% committed to Ole Miss. It's rumored and it's been told by Adam Baguette that he's coming, but that's all we got is his word. And East Tennessee State, I love Kisa, I love Faris, but I don't think that they should have been seeded higher then a Indiana Tech, then a Boise State. It's confusing. This pool should be a lot harder. I think Cumberland don't break a sweat here.
Yeah, if they play like they did against ETSU today again in this pool, I think they break out and easily win the pool. That's a head-to-head, though, that's going back and forth, and I know East Tennessee States are probably looking forward to a rematch after getting pretty much shut down by Cumberland at noon today. It was the first match of the day, of the LAN, and Cumberland 3-0'd ETSU after losing to them 3-1 on Monday.
Granted, was a 12 o'clock match, was a first LAN match for the teams. I mean, not for Cumberland, obviously. For ETSU, first look at the new roster. I'm not reading too heavily into it, but I also think online or not, I think Cumberland handles this game just fine. Winner's final will be probably a 3-1, probably a 3-0. I could see either one. It's going to be a scammy game if ETSU get one. And this is one of the pools that, actually, this is probably the pool that if Cumberland gets the grand finals advantage with bracket reset, it's over.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you there. There's no way anyone there beats them twice.
I can't see ETSU doing it. I can't see them doing it twice.
All right, so I guess the final consensus is that we're pretty much taking all the top seeds, except for me picking Syracuse.
I'm willing for the sake of content, give me Baylor over Ball State, but I can't pick any of those other schools to beat the top seeds. Indiana Tech might give us a run. I won't lie. I like that team, but I think we got it.
Not with all the money on the line. Like this is still serious. Like you still get a decent paycheck for making league play. So it'll be interesting. That's on Sunday. I will be streaming it also. So that'll also be a stream happening on this channel this weekend. So tune in. We'll probably have some special guests. I'm sure some players that aren't playing will pop by. Be more of a watch party, but definitely tune in for that. That is CRL. Next, we got the alphabet soups. A lot of NECC results this week. We had placements, which we can just barely touch on because we have actual week 1 results coming in as well. But placements got weird. This is when we were recording the last episode when placements were going on, so we didn't have all of them finished. But again, let me.
Some of them were live, including this first one we're about to talk about. So Fennec is the most stacked pool.
Yes.
So this is where you're going to see the difference between Division 1 in NECC and Division 2 in NECC. Now I must clarify. You're going to notice that there's some teams here, but you're missing a lot of the NECC Division 1. I believe 4 teams did not have to play the placement tournament. I know we were one of them, and I think also Akron is in the mix there. They didn't have to play. I forget the others, but the only team in the CRL top 8 consistently who was forced to play this was Cumberland. Mm-hmm. They did perfectly
6-0.
I mean, Davenport Red, Carthage Red.
That's good competition, though. For placements.
For them, I think the answer is no, but overall, like I feel more so bad for Davenport Red and Carthage Red. I think that if they're seeded more justifiably, like for example where Waterloo was, which is Warriors Gold, I think that Davenport or Carthage Red could make Division 1 in that specific matchup with Leslie. I think they kind of got screwed having to play Cumberland, but that's a mini hot take in itself.
The results that jumped out to me, Leslie going 2-0, beating St. Clair Gold.
That's a big one.
That's a good result for them. And Drexel losing to Waterloo as well. I don't know what to make of St. Clair Gold and Drexel at the moment because St. Clair Gold in the Cracked Gaming Challenge, which I'll put the bracket on, that's after the NECC.
Hold on now.
They made a run.
They did.
They beat some decent teams. And then they lose to teams like Leslie, and they got 4-0'd by Conestoga as well in Division 2.
Which that result makes no sense to me. But the Leslie result, I've been high on this team since the summer. This has been one of my hot picks every episode, and I like that this happened. But again, this is NECC fraudulent seeding and I got to talk with Captain Awesome, one of the guys on the team of NECC. He explained a lot of the seeding to me. It makes sense because teams like Waterloo and Drexel had great seasons within NECC last year, but Waterloo was ranked a little too high and Drexel is way too inconsistent. So I can only blame NECC so far. But Drexel getting a chance to play Leslie for a spot, I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's reasonable. This was kind of, in my opinion, free for whoever won the Leslie or St. Clair Gold game. I think it's a 3-0 regardless, but I think them beating St. Clair Gold is fine. You also mentioned you don't know what to make of Drexel and St. Clair Gold. I think Drexel is head loss. I think that they are kind of screwed to start this year off because they haven't shown growth. Mm-hmm. St. Clair Gold, when they played us in that Crack Gaming tournament, I will say there was a lot of antics there. And that series was a little weird, I won't lie. But we did go to 7. They had some good games. I saw some things that caught me off guard. And True and I are good friends. We talk a lot on Discord. And I know that roster's grinding. I know for a fact they want it bad. And St. Clair is on them about being that bad or that big bad wolf in a lot of these sleeper brackets. But Leslie, huge win. That makes me feel better because I've been on them for months.
See what else.
Cold going to 5 with USC, who also beat KSUA.
That's crazy. And
Yes.
Dylan said maybe the KSU guys were having a little bit too much fun, but it shows that South Carolina can still beat a good CRL team that might be messing around a little bit. Even though South Carolina have had an up and down season after losing Cats, it's still SJT, AUG, and Turnip as their third. But taking a scalp like that in any CC placements is pretty good regardless of how your opponent's playing.
And this was one of those results that I thought was going to get Kennesaw A dropped to Division 2 because that's what the point of these placements are, is that if you sell, you will be dropped. But if you guys go look at NECC, KSUA is still in Division 1.
They did get revenge.
Which they did, and I respect that. But a loss like that has to be talked about. And the fact that they still got in Division 1, I think, is lucky. And granted, I agree with the point because I know firsthand what these players like to do. I know they like to troll if it's not a super competitive team. I see that firsthand every day back at Concord. So I know, but also, if you're not able to relock back in, especially against, of all teams, no hate to USC, obviously. But if you can't lock back in against South Carolina, which is AUG, in terms of the KSU matchup, it's AUG and friends. But I love SJT, I love Turnip, but they can't compete in that lobby, in my opinion. But they did. So maybe I stand corrected, but that's still a really bad loss, no matter how much they were trolling. The fact that they lost it in general is my problem.
And we did get confirmation last week, the way these placements affect division placing is that the results are taken into account. They don't necessarily place you.
Yes.
And so, I mean, you have to take rank into account, and the fact that Flitz and TNT have been at the top of CRL, and that Kronovi's still a pretty darn good player as well. So, I mean, honestly, even if they lose to South Carolina twice, they probably still get in Division 1.
Yeah, and that's another conversation I had with the NECC crew, is that there are a few teams who weren't exactly pre-placed in divisions, but on paper, it's impossible for them to be placed lower. Like, Kronovi should not be in Division 2. Flit should not be in Division 2. TNT, even if it was a full rank A team, should not be in Division 2. So, no matter how they performed, I don't think it mattered. Maybe they knew that. Maybe that's why the trolling was there, but fair play.
They locked back in at least. And real quick, I want to show the second best placement tournament because there's one team I want to talk about. This is Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University.
Yes.
In Daytona in Florida. And I want you to take a look at the roster because
You'll notice there's a familiar face who was also on a Daytona school. So Ian is still in Daytona, but he's on a different college now.
Yes. And ERAU actually has some pretty good esports support. This is a school I've coached against several times in my Huntington days. So I know ERAU is a decent program, and now that Ian's there, they got placed Division 2, so will be a team to keep an eye on.
I mean, just like how Daytona State was with Ian, any team with Ian in Division 2 has to be looked out for. Now, granted, I will say I believe this roster, in my opinion, is a little worse than Ian's previous roster at Daytona State. I'm going almost purely off of paper results there. So we'll have to see how Division 2 gets, because in my opinion, Division 2 got stronger this year as well. So I don't know if Ian's going to get a back-to-back, but we'll see what happens.
All right, well, speaking of the strength of divisions, let's talk Division 1, see who all got in as... Ooh, this is going to look a little...
Might be able to zoom out and fit them all in. We're trying to get these results moving for you guys, but we'll see. Because I guess maybe zoom in, maybe they'll fold over one another.
Yeah, it's good enough.
Close enough. We're on LAN. That's a little chalk. Here you go. Big results. Let's start with the Northwood. It says
5-1.
Yeah.
They killed St.
Played an
Clair.
extra game. No, a nice little 4-1 there for Northwood. That's a big early preseason result. That's Northwood online.
Yep. And, I mean, I think that's Northwood. Because the reason I had Northwood ranked, I think, 5th in my preseason rankings is because I didn't feel like they had enough of a strong end of the season, losing to Akron at CECC in a head-to-head to put them above Akron, who I had 4th in the three big European rosters in the top 3. But Northwood is obviously back, and They were seeded first overall. I want to interrupt this NECC discussion to talk about the seeding of the CRL bracket, which we just had up. I don't know if you're feeling passionate about this Concord team not being seeded first.
I mean, look, I obviously have a lot of hot takes on it. Even though I was not with the team last year, I was very close with the team, did a lot of team broadcasts. I've been talking with these guys since January about potentially transferring. So I've been in the conversation, I've been in the calls, and I will say, I think that this NECC match is the only reason Northwood got that spot. That's how passionate I get. I think that is the only reason that they got that spot. Now,
crazy.
Now, here's why. Here's my explanation for it, is that I think this is what the war room at CRL did. They said, okay, St. Clair Green got murked by Concord 2 series in a row, and then got murked by Northwood. Okay, so then that means that they probably ruled St. Clair out of top 2 contention completely. I think if it's a tiebreaker situation, it should be us, Northwood, St. Clair Green. But unfortunately, I think that because of this 4-1, or I guess the 5-1 that's on the website, they completely ruled them out. They said, screw it. We don't think St. Clair Green's a top 2 contender, which is crazy to say, by the way, but I think that's what they're thinking. And then if you go between us and Northwood, unfortunately, our head-to-head is not great, but we have gone to 7 almost every time. So we're close, but at the same time, I can understand why the crew went the way that they did. Do I agree with it? Absolutely not. It is very short-sighted to take a few or one potential matchup. That is a complete failure, in my opinion, from the CRL seating committee, but that's where I get a little too passionate about it. So it's a tragedy, and I think that our pool is harder because of it, because I would rather play LCU than Indiana Tech or Michigan State, but those are all great rosters, and at that point, I sound like I'm talking trash. So that's what I got.
From an objective, non-Concord bias standpoint, Northwood hasn't won anything since one of the opens during CRL Spring, and Concord has won a lot since then.
Hotshot brings up a really good point, too.
What did he say?
He said that Cumberland beat St. Clair in 5 in NACE. Again, that's probably one of the results that the seating committee said, you know what, St. Clair Green sucks this year. I don't agree with that, but I think that's what they said. Again, I think
this year. Still top 3.
It is extremely short-sighted. I still think the committee did wrong here, but at that point, you're flipping a coin. So,
all right. Well, that's the tangent I wanted to go on, because I think the first overall seed carries more weight than anything else really in seeding CRL. But Indiana Tech 4-1 to Ole Miss. Pretty good result for the Warriors there, who have really been trending upward. They did this and then turned around afterwards and played a show match on my stream and 4-0'd UTK retirement home. So Indiana Tech looking pretty good. I
think that the UTK retirement home, at this point with how well they have played, I think it was almost disrespectful to make Indiana Tech play that team, because they look like they are ready to hit way above their pay grade. And again, I hate that this roster is in our pool, because I believe that Indiana Tech are probably the best upset pick right now to go into the top 8. But obviously, I think that our matchups against them have been good, even though they've been few. I think we handle that team with no issue, but they should not be going against us. They should be going against a Cumberland. They should be going against a West Virginia. Them versus Cumberland, that's the matchup that I was expecting to see. But they got to make it through Michigan State. They've never played that roster, and that's going to be a weird play style change. And a weird clashing of styles, too. Not to mention the ones and on-ball dominance of that Michigan State roster versus the overall wonderful team play from Indiana Tech. So I still don't know who's going to win between those two teams, but Indiana Tech, if they're in any other pool, I think they could upset.
And then the Leslie Kennesaw State series was a 4-0 for KSU, so maybe they did earn that Division I spot. And then Akron 4-1 to St. Edwards on stream, and that was a performance from St. Edwards that I was a little appalled by. They tossed some leads in that series. That could have easily been a 6 or 7 game series, and St. Edwards came out, I think, gave up a late goal in game 1 in a close affair. They got blown out in game 2, and then 3 through 5 it was pretty close. So unfortunately St. Edwards just couldn't win games in that series, and that's what it comes down to sometimes.
I mean, I'm going to sound awful for what I'm about to say, but St. Edwards is not built for the lights right now. They're not at that point. They're not built for the lights. And I think, unfortunately, tomorrow, we talked about this on episode 9. We talked about this last week. We said that I think the floor for St. Edwards this event is top 12. But if they hit that result, it would be a shock. It would be a tragedy.
Yeah.
With the amount that has been invested into that team, both with human and physical resources, that would be a tragedy. And again, I like that team. Wellis is also like 6'3", by the way. I love these guys. I talked to Tanner for about 15 minutes earlier before they got out of here. These guys are good people. Nolly is incredible. He looks great, but he is the only person on that team who's looked great, especially today. So, Division 1, I think they're going to struggle pretty hard on their side of things. And they got the toughest pool, too. If you go and you compare the pools, I think it's not even close which one is tougher. As we're going to show the Concord side of things, too. So we can talk about Group B. We'll throw these results real quick. First of all, Drexel being in this pool, I'll leave it at that. But Davenport Black, great. Cumberland, great. Fisher, sleeper team. LCU, easy pick. They murdered OC.
Well, apparently it was a forfeit.
Oh, sorry, you're right. You did say that. So they either murdered or did not murder OC. OC forfeiting is still about as bad as it gets because that program, if they're forfeiting matches for NECC,
I think it was a timing screw up, is what I was told.
Oh, okay. Well, regardless, Akron Gold being in this pool, I'm a little surprised that they made it up to Division 1, but of any of the teams who have been grinding over the last year, I think they deserve it. So I'm okay with them being in this pool, but I'm struggling to see who they're going to beat outside of maybe Fisher, or not maybe. They beat Drexel. Fisher, Akron Gold should be a banger series.
I could name 4 teams that I think they could beat.
Oh, okay.
I think Fisher, Drexel, Lubbock Christian, and Oklahoma Christian are all teams that Akron Gold has a reasonable shot at beating. I don't know if I just believe in Akron Gold and their grind a lot more than everybody else, but I think they're a top 20 CRL team. And I don't think Fisher, Drexel, and Lubbock Christian are, especially if that 4-0 over Oklahoma Christian isn't actually a 4-0, which it is still verifying. And it was submitted wrong as well. By the way, if you're in League OS, submit your result. There's a thing over here that will be a forfeit button for the other team, and that's how you should submit that, and not a 4-0 with 4-1-0 score lines. So Concord murdered Davenport.
That was a funny series.
Fisher 4-2 against Drexel.
We had a good time that night. We talked with Cam after, too. We had a good time.
It was pretty high-scoring games, too.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well, first of all, I will say this. The night before, Davenport went to a 6-5 Game 3 overtime. Davenport did get swept, but they went to St. Clair Green, not Gold. They went to Game 3 with St. Clair Green, 6-5 OT. St. Clair Green won it at the end of the series. That was a really, really funny game to watch, and I texted to my guys. I said, surely we don't go 5-6, right? And what do we do instead? We go 7-5. So anyways, after that, it was over. We locked back in. That was the night before we left to be here.
Okay.
So that series kind of was a little iffy, but we get a sweep there, and that's what matters. So it wasn't close, but I love those guys. I think they're a very competitive team, but Bolte has a lot he has to learn. Again, love the guy, but if he's going to be the fiddle that Brock and Cam both need, not only does Brock and Cam have to actually link up together in the offensive half, they struggle to do that a lot against us, but also Bolte wasn't really in the game plan, and that's another roster who was struggling to find identity.
And it's the instance of 2 star players, and then the third that it's trying to figure out a way to be fully functional in that lineup. And I think that's a cool story for a lot of these schools that we're seeing that with. St. Edwards, Baylor are perfect examples right now of new rosters that are doing that. And Davenport's been doing it since, when did Cam and Brock join the lineup?
It was last fall.
It was last fall. So they've had a lot of time to sort it out. And I still think they are a top 15 lineup, but eventually you have to take that next step. And this fall should be it after a year together.
They're going to get a really tough test run. We'll talk power rankings soon.
Yeah.
I have them in the middle of a lot of wild card rosters. And I think that entire section of our rankings, both of our rankings, I think 10 to 15 or 16, it's kind of a toss-up. And Davenport Black will be one of those rosters who was great last year, but needs to show more to survive the new look teams this year.
All right, we'll speedrun Division 2 here. Not a ton of interesting results, but it is worth noting the teams that are in Division 2, with Florida and South Carolina always playing against each other in the NECC. They all got wins they should be getting. Charlotte got a forfeit win. ERAU 4-0 over UNCW, which shows you a little bit of their power, even though UNCW isn't exactly a powerhouse.
But they did have a really good NECC placement, and that's why I think they're in this division specifically. But the East is tough. Winthrop Academy is a roster that we were both high on early on.
Still am.
I mean, I'm starting to slip a little bit, but I still want to see them succeed. But I'm definitely higher on USC by a mile than I am on Winthrop Academy. So 4-1 there, in my opinion, not too surprising. This is, I hope Dylan's in chat, because this is now going to be the second semester in a row that Kennesaw State has had a team forfeit at NECC. And
I forfeited out completely?
I believe they...
the first week, it looks
All right, never mind. I take it back. Dylan, hopefully you guys are not forfeiting out. But the fact that
that's Shady's team.
Oh, wait, you're right. Because now they're being called black. You're right. That is Shady and Melodic. All right, never mind. I'm sorry, Dylan. I take it back. It is still a point that Kennesaw State has had teams forfeit out, but we'll see how the rest of the season goes. That roster, I think, actually has a lot of potential.
There's your answer.
But we'll see. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, Dylan, you're probably right. I don't think I'm going to repeat that just because I think, we know what Melodic brings to the table after the Southern Miss drama. Now, this, on the other side, this team is Dylan's team.
Yes.
And they had a good starting win against Waterloo.
Conestoga as well.
Yes.
4-0 St. Clair.
St. Clair Gold.
St. Clair Gold. And Fuel and SMU, I'm going to look for more results out of before we really talk about them.
Yeah, we don't have much to talk about with them other because even on the player side of things, there's nobody extremely notable on those teams. Now, granted, that does not mean they're not good. It just means that there's nobody you look at and you say, I know what they look like on the field. Versus where with Kennesaw State B, we have a lot of personal experience. Cleveland State, we have a lot of personal experience. Conestoga, St. Clair Gold, same thing. But these other rosters are just a little messy, but they had great performances. That's why they're in this Eastern Division.
West has a couple of decent rosters. I think Texas A&M, Carthage are pretty interesting. UC Santa Barbara might be getting interesting. They had an interesting placement run.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've got a team from Wisconsin taking on a team out in California, which is a funny regional thing. But that shows you how weak the western side of CRL is.
If you want to get a feeler of what the west part of CRL looks like, you go to NECC. They're the only group who really supports a western side of CRL, which I respect them for that, but it's weird. Grand Canyon is a very weird roster. We talked about that roster earlier today. They are not even in my top 50, but I also think they are potentially the second or third favorites to get out of this group. I think Carthage Red, and it should be, I think SE, that's, you have to help me out.
Southeastern Oklahoma.
That's what it is. I was forgetting Oklahoma. I think it's Carthage Red and Southeastern Oklahoma who should cruise to that final.
Yeah, unless Texas A&M lock in. I think I'm with you there.
Yeah.
GCU could be a wild card, but yeah, they were seeded top 48, weren't they, for CRL?
Yeah, we'll get to that. we'll get back to that. But yes, they were seeded. Yes, I don't know what about that roster is top 48 level. There's must be too much Western bias on the committee because they don't have any results to back that up in both of our opinions. Very weird roster overall, but we'll see what happens this year.
Yeah, Oasis is right. Guess we should have played NECC Div 2. It looks very doable. Yeah, out west, it kind of does. And then the other West Central Division, some more notable teams, Davenport Red, Indiana,
yes.
Illinois. This is the Waterloo B team that didn't have the upset win over Drexel, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then North Dakota is Pink as Cat's new team. You got UTK Orange with Joe Bro playing with Jeezy and Kung. Huntingdon, who I think are struggling to figure it out as a team right now, but once they do, could actually be good. And then Purdue Gold is a perennial wild card program.
And the fact that they went to 6 with Davenport Red, I am very impressed by. Before that result, I was very high on Davenport Red being the clear favorite. I think Indiana have had a really good few stretches of games. I think that they should handle Illinois, and I think it's going to be those two schools pretty safely. But Purdue getting 2 games, there's a little bit to read into there. Also, let's talk about how Tennessee and Alabama are in a West Central division. Shout out
Wisconsin too.
But
Wisconsin too.
Yeah, whatever. I just want to throw that out there for everybody to hear.
Yeah. That's Knoxville as well is a very, very big
surely
stretch.
That's West. Surely that's West Central. Surely.
Yeah.
I guess we're in the Central. We're in West right now, actually, being here in Chattanooga.
Right. Yeah, we're pretty south of Knoxville.
We're going to Cali tomorrow.
Well, that's NECC for you, everybody. Which, as much as we joke about the NECC and what kind of happens in the league, that's the number 1 league right now to play in if you want good competition at the top. And so we'll be covering NECC probably the most of the NACE, PCL, and NECAC.
They support the most students too, and I love that. I'm big on that. So I like NECC for that. Now how they do it, that's where we start to vary off the trail, but that's all.
All right, get ready for a flashbang. We got Cracked Gaming And TJ, you coached in this.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
You added this to your trophy cabinet.
Yes.
And this is where I don't know what to make of St. Clair Gold, because they came out and they beat Akron Gold in 7, which is pretty solid after Akron Gold beat Bruton Parker Christian University. And
Let's
weird
talk about it.
Results overall.
So first off, let me explain, because you guys will notice there's a Concord-Cumberland matchup in round 1. So let's talk about it. So Crack Gaming, I love how much effort they put into their event, but they stretched this out to be a 3-week event where we had to play best of 1 quals on one Saturday, on another Saturday, and then the next Sunday, that's when this bracket all happened in one sitting. It was about a 6-hour shift. It was pretty rough, and I like to say that's why we struggled. Granted, but I will say this, Indiana Tech did catch us off guard fair and square, and then after that, I think there was some scammy games from both of us, but that series was fair. We did murk Cumberland. That we did full sweat. Both teams full sweat of that one. We got Cumberland there. I'm going to stand on that. Columbia, there's a stream VOD from Zerx's TikTok. That was just funny. We had a really good time with those guys. We love those guys. Shout out Rhyolite. Now, the St. Clair Gold Series, I stood on this on episode 9. I'll stand on it again. We did troll. Kind of hard. I won't lie. A little bit of KSU Premier trolling. But St. Clair Gold, again, they impressed me in this series. True looked really good until Game 4 hit. And then it kind of got out of hand from there. Christian and Fatal look wonderful. Fatal looks really good. And I won't hate on them by any means. They deserve the Akron Gold win, and they also deserved what probably could have been a 5 or 6 game series with us on a good day. Also, Akron gets Bruton Parker in the quarterfinals. That's a very notable result. But what trumps all of that to me is that LCU, who played all of the quals, was a top 4 seed. What did they decide to do? They DQ. So anyways, messy bracket, messy day, and we played the tougher side for sure by a mile. But, that's my second event win with the boys. Can't hate there.
And these were good results for some teams that haven't been looking great. Like Columbia, I might have reacted too harshly after they lost to Indiana Tech on my stream because I didn't have any other data on them. And so I bumped them down in my rankings and then saw this, and this is more like what I expect. 3-0ing York, WCTC, which are decent, like top 30 to 48 potential rosters, and then looking decent against Concord, and then 4-1ing Akron Gold in the 3rd place match, which it's a 3rd place match, so I think I give Columbia more credit for that than I take away from Akron Gold for losing it. Yep. But it's still good to see, like Rhyolite fitting in well with the boys and getting a top 3 in a pretty decently stacked tournament. Also,
our Columbia series was stretched out very slow. Over 40-ish minutes. We stretched that series out pretty far. Akron was in a battle with St. Clair Gold. So to go to that 3rd place match, the vibes were very different on those two sides. So I think that's why Columbia got the best of them. But also, that's the only result we've seen from Columbia that's make them a team worth ranking semi-highly. We'll talk about our top 48 later.
Yeah.
But again, that's a good result.
We should do that fairly soon. We'll run through the next couple of results. Probably like one little section of talking each. But first of all, TNT wants to clear his name of the KSU trolling allegations. So
blame Flitz is what he's saying. No, I'll say it for all the auditory listeners. They're blaming Flitz in Twitch chat. They're throwing him under the bus. You can never throw Season 1 World Champion Kronovi under the bus. Never. Never could. So apparently it's all Flitz's fault. So shout out Dylan.
Focus harder, Flitz. All right, ads incoming. This was the Beltway Boost. Hold on. This was the Beltway Boost LAN.
Yeah, we'll.
That St. Edwards played on LAN.
Yes.
They flew in for the last chance qualifier and then got O2'd, unfortunately. But Big Backs is Concord.
Big Backs is the Concord roster, but we were not legally allowed to be called Concord University. So it's the same exact roster. It's us 4, except we had to go under a different name.
So you guys win. You beat Ole Miss, and Round 5 Merchants was a pickup roster.
Yes.
It had Kevin and a couple other guys.
It was Juice, Scythe, and Kevin.
All right, and then they ended up beating St. Edwards 3-0. So rough for St. Edwards, but good for you guys. This is Ole Miss with Cosmic as well.
which this was a get-back series for us. When we played Ole Miss with Cosmic last, we played him first whenever we had Crispy on 140 ping.
Pre-jump tournament.
Yes, that's the colleague pre-jump. And then we did play them on fair ground, and we lost to them in 5 in the DC quals. It was qual 2 that happened. So I'm glad we locked back in. That tournament was ours. I think we were very ready for that tournament. My guys wanted their cash, and who am I to deny them of that opportunity? So they murked that day. It was awesome. St. Edward's going all the way to DC, being the only team to show up. They played a mid-team in the LCQ, making that trip, and they walk out with no money. That hurts. And I thought that was going to be the wake-up call for this roster before they got here to Chattanooga, but from what we've seen, it's still a long process in learning.
Which they finished second in the group, went to 5 with Kennesaw State.
And with UTK.
Went to 5 with UTK as well, though, and that's the floor we're kind of talking about. And, we're going to skip NACE because literally nothing of note happened in NACE.
No upsets this week, I don't believe.
It was all one-sided stuff, like Winthrop playing Shawnee and then Maryville forfeiting.
Which we could talk about the Super Conference in an episode in itself because it is extremely top-heavy, but that's another story.
Another flashbang incoming. This is the C3 Esports League, which is North and South Carolina. I actually haven't really looked at this yet. Anything interesting? Winthrop Academy beating South Carolina.
I missed this result completely. This is big. That brings my hopium for Winthrop Academy back up.
Was playing.
Okay.
There you go. We just want to shout it out because I do like the work that C3 do.
UNCW going to 5 with, if you scroll up a little bit, going to 5 with North Carolina State. That's a weird one for UNCW, but I'll let that one slide.
All right, I just wanted to shout them out and talk about. I knew there was one result I wanted to talk about, and it is South Carolina losing there.
A whole lot of bloodbath going on in the Carolinas, on each other too.
Yeah. And then we will touch on the SEL as well. This was tier assignment, and so a lot of the big results coming out of this didn't have big ramifications, but I think it's still significant. ETSU were the only team to go undefeated through 3 best-of-3s one week and then 3 best-of-5s the next week. And I think this was a really good showing for ETSU of what they can be because they beat Cumberland and Bruton Parker in their run to 6-0.
Which is absurd to me because this is the only time we've seen ETSU look dominant. This was the results we were waiting for, we were praying for, and they didn't. I don't think they went to 5 against either one, correct? Even against Bruton Parker, it was also a 3-0 or a 3-1?
Yeah,
I think it was a 3-0 if my memory serves.
3-2.
Oh, no, it did go to 5. Okay, well, either way, 2 very, very good wins for that new program, or for that new roster, I should say. And I'm glad. I think that will be a rivalry to watch. If Cumberland is not getting SEL for free, especially with CECC on the line, it's a conversation worth having in a few months.
And I'm not at liberty to say it's definitely going to CECC, but pretty much confirmed that there will be a CECC spot on the line there. So big, it's big to show up for the SEL and the NEL as well this season, which nothing happened interestingly in the NEL tier assignment. There were some teams that were away for this LAN, so nothing to talk about there. So let's talk about this LAN. Scenic City Invitational. Get ready for another flashbang. You can see the warning. It's on my face. But let's talk about groups here. Here are the results. Cumberland, ETSU, George Mason. I thought Memory was playing, and I made a bold prediction that I thought those 3 would trade series, and it would come down to game differential. But no, Cumberland beat ETSU at the start of the day, and that ended up being all they needed to do to top the group.
Didn't drop a singular game either. So good for Cumberland. They're the second seeded team for a reason. A lot of people came into this weekend thinking it was going to be Concord Cumberland. I think that point is maybe slowly fading away with Indiana Tech and how well they're playing, but it still looks good right now.
So no real surprises there after Cumberland handled business against East Tennessee State. Same in the next group too, as I think this is exactly how I expected it to shake out, with you boys topping it, not dropping a game.
Yes.
Then Bruton Parker, a definite second, but not looking super great against Concord, and that's where I'm a little concerned because I thought they could maybe take a game, but there was a lot of chirping coming from the Concord side, and there wasn't a ton of chirping from the Bruton Parker end, although they did get loud.
I mean, Kyler and me are really close friends. We were teammates years and years ago. We're gonna be loud. Manny's also very loud, but I will say Bruton Parker was quieter this weekend on LAN than I think I've seen them at any LAN ever. Now, granted, how much do you want to read into that? Because their group was I think their group was kind of pre-scripted, with all due respect. I think they're going to be a force in bracket tomorrow. I just don't know who they can beat on their best day versus who they can handle on their worst day. But Bruton Parker, I think, looked fine other than our series today.
And then Cumberland Academy beating Georgia State and Clemson, which I thought could be up in the air, but they were able to get out of those series without too much hassle.
Georgia State, Clemson.
Shout out to Hotshot and the boys. And Hotshot Gnosis looked phenomenal on stream today.
Yes.
That was the Georgia State series, I believe, that was broadcasted. Gnosis looks fantastic as a individual on the ball, and then Hotshot was consistent. I think he hit the game-winning double tap, something like that.
He had a flip reset over 2 that scored in overtime or towards the end of the game. It was gross. So shout out to Hotshot there. This team has pleasantly surprised me. And Georgia State really, really struggled, but finally they got Clemson. They went 3-0, and it was handled.
Yeah, the third time apparently they've beaten Clemson this week, which was in SEL tier assignment, my stream, and then here.
Consistency is key.
And then let's look at Group C. This one got crazy with 2 Game 5s. St. Edward's going to 2 of them, and they have to reverse sweep UTK Retirement Home, which was insane. Had a huge crowd around that match. Oof. And then they lose in Game 5 overtime to Kennesaw State, who looked good, but not good enough to dominate Group C.
This one was confusing. We all know what UTK Retirement Home brings to the table. We know they're a very hard roster to handle, and St. Edward's learned that the hard way, and it was tough. But they did, for the first time since this roster's been formed, showed great mental fortitude, won 3 games in a row, handled business, because if St. Edward's starts the day out tomorrow in a new venue, a much larger, much louder, much noisier venue, I think they could mess around and go out top 16, top 12. I think that was almost a guarantee if they did not win that series. But now you forced UTK to go down there, which is the least consistent team out of the top 3, and they handled KSU B fairly well, but the KSU A St. Edwards series, that one was super messy, and we have a lot of points we can talk about within that game alone.
Yeah, that was a banger, and I was really impressed by Wellis in that series. I think both on offense and defense, he survived a lot of solo situations, like 1v2s against Kennesaw State, and he adapted well too to KSU, who were going for so many demos. It felt like they were actively bullying Wellis on the St. Edwards goal line. But as the series drew on, he found a way to adapt to that, and that kind of ended up helping St. Edwards get back in the series.
And as much as I hate to pin things on one person, I think that after today's performance, and I'm going to explain my point here, if Wellis does not show up tomorrow, this team is doomed. This team is going out top 8 at the best if Wellis does not show up, because he struggled on LAN early, found some success later on throughout the day, but not consistent, and especially with the team success, like they weren't spending a lot of time on KSU's end, and even when they weren't finding bumps. Bruton Parker did that beautifully today against us, I must mention. They weren't really, again, they're trying to find their style, and they don't know it yet. And I have to mention this again, love Tater to death, but in games 2, 3, and 4 in the St. Edwards Kennesaw series, he had, if my memory serves correct, he had 54 points, he had 82 points, and he had 76 points. I believe that is almost exactly down to the number. But he had 3 straight games under 100, and there wasn't any sort of big conversations happening between games, so they don't know what they're doing within their team system, but they also don't really seem to be supporting Tater at all.
Yeah. I won't go further commenting on that, but it was a rough series from Tater, though he was pretty active off the ball. And so I think that makes up for some of the double-digit performances. He had some impact demos. He did well to help create space in the games that they were, in all the games. I think he did well off the ball, had some pretty impact demos that led directly to goals. So bad statistical performance, but Tater was still impactful and was still helpful to his team in that series.
He's got a role on defense. He plays that role very well, and St. Edwards just spent too much time in the midfield compared to the back line, and that's why he wasn't as involved.
I do want to mention, though, that on the KSU side, Flitz, compared to what I'm used to seeing from him, was noticeably less impactful. Didn't do as much on the ball as I'm used to seeing, but TNT and Kronovi stepped up. Kronovi especially. I think I didn't know coming into this semester how good Kronovi was going to be as an individual player. I didn't know what kind of form he was going to have, but he's actually got some mechs, dude. For a guy that hasn't played RLCS in a while.
And he's bumping, and he's chasing. Like,
he fits in well.
Yes, he's learned and adjusted very well within this KSU system. It's very Georgia that Bruton Parker and KSU are getting closer and closer in playstyle to the day.
Yeah.
And also, Kronovi called game against almost the entire group today. He called game multiple times in each series, and so obviously we know he is absolutely chill under pressure, but he also clutched up when he needed to. TNT looked incredible, got the Game 5 winner in OT. He looks great. And I will say this, Flitz, yes, I agree, didn't have as much impact on the ball. Flitz did shoot the best on that team by a mile, in my opinion. He slotted some much-needed shots. So finding value, similar to Tater's story, you find value where you can regardless. Granted, I'm not comparing Tater to Flitz, but it was a messy series regardless. I mean, KSU, I don't want to say got lucky, but had a really bad start and then a pretty okay finish.
I think the biggest story coming out of Group D, which we can move along from the San Edwards UTK KSU talk, but Indiana Tech looked very good today, but their series against Akron, I stopped watching a couple of games in to work on the graphics for this podcast, and so I hear it once it goes to Game 5 overtime, after I thought Indiana Tech had it wrapped up. So Akron still got comeback potential, and also Indiana Tech can't help themselves but to go to Game 5 in big series.
You're also missing the part where that was on reverse sweep watch as well. Indiana Tech was up 2-0 in that series, and Akron Glue had a 1-0 and I believe a 2-1. Two very close Akron, not scammy series, but they get a bump goal and then they play defense, right? So Akron had a chance, a real chance, at proving to everybody they still had it with Milio in the lineup, but you fall to Indiana Tech. Of all the teams you could lose to, it's not a bad loss with that roster, but on LAN, I think we all expected a little bit more from that team. But they're still in uppers for a reason. They'll be a threat.
And yeah, we did call them Akron Glue because Milio is playing with Patty and Bullseye. But Indiana Tech is looking good right now. They are my number 11, and let's give out our accolades, and then we'll get into the I mixed up. Ignore. There we go. Let's give out our accolades because I think this is the best week for accolades. We've kind of been stretching the last couple.
True.
Outside of Mirrored
deserved
his.
Most deserved.
Yes. But do you want to start?
Which one do you want me to start with?
Do player.
Okay,
It
well,
fits.
player, this was very apparent. He's in chat. He's come a long way from last year. This is easily one of the most proud players I am, at least, of in the scene. My player of the week is Bluey. He has blended with Rashiram and Velocity extremely well. I am completely caught off guard by how good he looks with that team. Last year, playing with Chippy and Miller, he looked incredible, don't get me wrong, but he did not look like a potential top 32, top 48 RLCS player with that roster. Bluey looks really good, and I was not ready for it. So to Indiana Tech, Rashiram and Velocity, they played great today. But Bluey, if he does not step up, that team is not the same. Bluey is the catalyst for that roster.
And my team of the week kind of follows a similar vein of thought because my team of the week is ETSU, who beat Bruton Parker and Cumberland this week, did lose the rematch against Cumberland, but against George Mason, they handled business. And I'm loving the way that Landon is fitting in with the two Europeans because Leo and Kisai, we knew they were going to be good. That's all that players could tell me about when I was ranking ETSU initially, but Landon looks so good playing alongside them. And this is a new element for him, playing these high-level CRL teams and playing a European play style as well. So shout out to the ETSU boys. I'm really liking what they're turning into.
I do want to mention for stream as well that Leo is Faris, correct? Just under a rebrand?
Yes, yeah, he's rebranding.
I had to make sure because I said Faris earlier and I thought I said something wrong. But no, yes, the jersey does say Leo, or however it was pronounced the first time. I'm new to that, so apologies from me. Now, I guess I'll get into my team. This one was a little kind of apple from the tree, early, easy type of pick. Power Esports Conference held their LAN. I hated on this team, I won't lie. I said they were going to lose in grand finals, but they proved me wrong, and they did it well. They didn't go to a singular game 6 or 7 or a deciding matchup. They 3-0'd and they 4-1'd, I believe. And you were there in person. My team of the week is Boise State.
3-0, actually.
Oh, it was best of 5 in the final.
Best of 5, 2 sweeps. Boise looked phenomenal. I'm gonna ride the back of that because there were too many I don't know. I couldn't pick a player of the week easily. And so I'm going to say Woozy because he was the MVP of that PEC kickoff LAN. And all of Boise looked good. Durtho had some pop-off moments, but Woozy was his same instrumental self within that lineup. I think Boise's back. They're grinding hard, and they didn't look good in my show match earlier that week. Got heavy revenge on Michigan State in those finals. 3-0'd them, and Michigan State didn't have time to warm up before that, which maybe cost them a game and a half, but they still never really got into that series against Boise. And Woozy was the one that wanted the show match that I set up against Michigan State. So he's ready to grind. He looked good. Shout out Woozy. Well done.
Boise State is the West. It's Maryville and Boise, but Maryville doesn't exist anymore. It is Boise State who's holding that entire side of the entire side of the U.S. with a thread, and it's just Boise State. So shout out to that program. Shout out to that entire route. They look great. Again, I only got to watch bits and pieces of it, but when I went back and had some time to sit down and watch, like you mentioned, all three players look great, had great moments. Also, Durtho's jacked as all get out. Anytime he's on LAN, it's kind of an aura buff. Anytime he's on LAN, especially going to Syracuse's home turf, watching them get first rounded, and then taking a new look Michigan State roster and saying, we don't care. We're still the same old roster, and we're still going to beat you. And also, yes, Michigan State, no warm-up. I still think that Boise State should be winning that if both teams are warming up even for an hour. But also, that result makes me think that maybe Indiana Tech in CRL is going to dominate that Michigan State team. Those are both good kind of gatekeeping top 10, top 15, top 20, you can argue a lot of those rosters. So we'll see how they match up on Sunday, but Boise State made it out alive.
I don't know about dominate, but there's a chance.
I think 3-1 is within debate. I'll
also,
say that much.
Is this your top 48 here?
That is my top 48, indeed.
Okay, sick. Then we're going to talk top 48 now after giving out our accolades. And this is going to be the last segment of the show because we always run over time, and we're holding Nutty in the Chattanooga facility.
And Taquito.
And Taquito as well, yeah. I held him hostage by driving him here. So, let's... they're waving at us. I need a second to format my rankings.
Well, let's go ahead, and I'll go ahead and kind of preface everything.
Please.
There's a few teams that we left off our rankings, and I want to get that off rip. UTK Retirement Home, we are not ranking them. Even though the colleague group has decided to put them in the rankings, me and Bepic believe that if you are not consistently playing in a league, you should not be ranked.
Or CRL.
Or CRL quals. We believe if you are not playing in those, you should not be ranked. So UTK Retirement Home, not in our rankings. Maryville, not in our rankings. I believe it is Burgos and Burros Blancos, who are also both missing in our rankings. So if you see those four teams missing, it's because we do not believe they deserve to be ranked because they only play in one event. Now, granted, I think some of the Mexican teams will show out in the opens and they will then get in our rankings, but for now, we can't justify putting them in our rankings. So that's all I got to say about that. But I believe we are all ready to go. I think.
Yeah. Let me put it up there.
Bepic just deleted my first 15 teams out too, so I gotta go.
Yeah, we're not doing that. We do top 48 here.
I do have my first few teams out we can talk about, but I guess we'll see how the episode goes on. But anyways, let's throw those rankings up. Let's get busy. Let's see kind of what we think. And there's a lot of debate. The colleague poll has a lot of new people this year. I'm expecting it to be a pretty rough first poll. I'm gonna say that first. All the rankers are great, but there's a lot of new faces and a lot of opinions, including me and Bepic, who straight up don't rank four of the teams that many others probably will rank. So Bepic's getting it formatted. I believe now we have it ready to go. It's going to go right in between our faces. You get half a flashbang. It's
pretty good.
Including us as well. Bepic just did all of that.
Great production.
So mini clap for Bepic W production here in Chattanooga. Bepic, you start. Where do you want to talk first?
We already did kind of the number one team. I think we made our points clear that we both think Concord should be number one. Northwood number two. I've got Akron above St. Clair, and St. Clair have been losing lately. Several losses. I still think Akron is a really good team, which people don't seem to be believing in. And I think they'll prove everyone wrong this weekend during CRL especially. St. Clair drop again. They lost to Northwood. It was 4-1. It wasn't particularly close. And then Cumberland and Winthrop, I've still got towards the top. Cumberland still residual from beating St. Clair and now getting revenge against ETSU and overall looking solid so far this season.
I mean, we pretty much agree on everything other than Akron. I haven't seen enough. It's not about Akron not being good enough. It's about I haven't lost enough faith in St. Clair yet. That's where I stand on things. That's why St. Clair is still in my top 3. CRL also agreed with that.
That's fair.
Now, Grant, that's not a metric I'm going to flex because of the other rankings on that list, but regardless, I think they still deserve a top 4 spot. They are the champions of the spring. Though they are struggling, I think there's a lot of external factors that you may want to contribute to that, but those are excuses. So I understand the hate. Not the hate. I understand the distaste for St. Clair Green in the top 4, but of the teams that I'm putting up there, I think I'm going Winthrop and Cumberland before I go Akron. Now, that might be hater for me, but I think that's the way I'm leaning.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Akron's performances on LAN and at CECC and within CRL as well are still significant. And, I mean, after that, we kind of agree, which makes sense because I think 8 through 12-ish is kind of set right now. Baylor is kind of innocent until proven guilty, I think, because we haven't seen many real results from them. But we will this weekend, and so that's what a lot of this ranking hinges on, and probably will change. But then Indiana Tech, I've got 11. You do too. ETSU I have after them as well for the wins they got this week. Indiana Tech beat Ole Miss. They 4-0'd UTK retirement home. ETSU beat Cumberland, beat Bruton Parker, and yes, it was SEL tier assigned, but they're still beating those teams, and it was convincing too. So I think ETSU are a top 12 roster. Davenport's, I still need to see more from, and we'll get more from in the NECC. That's more Indiana Tech and ETSU performing well, and so I jumped them over Davenport.
Yeah, we only have very minute things that we disagree with. I think Michigan State disappointed me a lot more than they did on your side of things because you have them at 15. I have them at 19. Columbia, we both also are slightly different on. 18 on yours, 22 on mine. But the rest of the teams were relatively around the same kind of statement on. OC is a very tough team to rank. I won't even jump into that. The only big one that I'm noticing is LCU. We both are very different on LCU. 22 on your list, 16 on mine. But outside of that, I actually kind of like where our lists are at. But this is the part I was talking about where now 12 through 20, you could kind of flip up, especially after this weekend. I think we're going to see a lot of those teams move.
It was the loss to Bruton Parker that really did it for me for LCU, which is why I have them in that range, because Bruton Parker have gone up and down as well. The loss to Akron Gold and cracked, and against LCU, I mean, yes, it was still a win, but they looked shaky there as well. So I'm not sure what to make of BPCU right now, and on LAN, they still really haven't had a test. So I'm waiting for that test from them. And then, you got Leslie pretty high. What's up with that?
I mean, look, I'm going to say this. The moment that I got past 24, that was the point of the rankings where you're running on fumes. There is nothing to go off of. Very, very few results to go off of.
Except for St. Clair.
Which St. Clair Gold has had too much negative to outweigh the very little positive, and that is why I kind of made my gatekeeper teams. It's Leslie, it's St. Clair Gold, it's Syracuse, Ball State Black. Those are my 4 easy top 32 gatekeepers. I think you could rearrange those 4 in a lot of different ways, but I like the way they lay out, and I am very high on Leslie. There's no bias there, but I am probably going to be the highest on the poll to put Leslie. We'll see what happens. The poll's been weird before, but I wouldn't be too shocked. I think my biggest surprise when I was doing these rankings was looking at Columbia's results. They are at LAN. They could prove me wrong, but I was very disappointed in Columbia, especially during the cracked event. They looked completely disheveled, I guess is the best word to say. And that's why they're so low on my list. But I think they clear everyone below them pretty well. If you want to put a big fat line on my list, put it after 22.
Okay. I think you've got Syracuse low. I think I believe in that team, but they are still unproven, so I can't really fault you for having them at 27. And then this is where everyone wants to see who we've got in our top 48. I dropped St. Clair Gold to 32 just because of the up and down results. I don't feel like I can drop them out of top 32 because of the wins they have so far, but the losses certainly don't give me confidence in them at all. So yeah, we've talked enough about them. And then my next teams, I think Charlotte and San Diego State, totally normal to have in that vicinity. But Carthage, I think, looks very good right now. They 4-1'd Mount Aloysius on my stream. They've gone to 7-5 against WCTC, who I've got in my top 32. And so I think them, Brock, Siena Heights, kind of out there picks to have up there, but so far so good. And I'm waiting for I'm waiting for the bad losses to happen if they happen.
I mean, I'll say it again. This early in the season, it's a lot of predictions than it is a power ranking.
Yeah.
And you can see that in our list. I'm aware that UCF is the very last team on my list. There's a few teams at this LAN who I think could take their spot, but they had enough at NECC that I thought, you know what, that's enough. I think they deserve it because it's power ranking, and that's
they
one
beat
of the teams,
Florida.
Yes, and that's one of the teams that I think because of that win, Florida's on their way out. UCF, maybe I'm the one vote that puts them in the top 48. But again, things get really messy down this list. WCTC, feel great about that one. San Diego State, feel great about that one. Brock, South Carolina. That's where things start to get a little out of hand. Drexel's an impossible team to rank. Yeah, we really don't know where they deserve to go, but we're within 3 of each other, so fair play to us. Florida, another impossible team to rank, a very high ceiling, a very low floor.
What have they done to actually have their ranking drop? Because I think SAP is better than True Raid.
I agree.
And I don't think Florida's had any bad losses, which they lost to UCF in NECC placements, and then they beat UCF 4-2 in a best-of-7 in actual NECC. I don't think they've done anything to really drop that low.
I mean, I have them higher than you.
That's
say that
true.
First of all. So I guess we're both not believers. We're not doubters. We're in the middle when it comes to Florida. I think them staying in the top 48 is a guarantee throughout the year. Now, can they get back in top 32 contention? Can they get in top 32 contention? I don't know if I see it yet. There's a lot to be desired there, and there's a lot of teams in their way. Like right now, if they were to play tomorrow on a BEPIC stream, I don't think Florida beat South Carolina. I don't think they beat Charlotte. I don't think they beat Drexel. I can go on and on.
Bro. See, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
I think they do beat those teams.
Which I love Sap. He's a great addition, but that team is almost too offensive. I'm not seeing enough defensive consistency, which I guess Hammy's the only one who has that and has shown that he has that as of late. So we both have them pretty in there, and I think they're in the right spot, but yeah, I don't know how much we can argue about Florida.
They just need more results, honestly.
Yes,
That's what I'm waiting for. Like I say, I think they would beat Drexel, and I've got Drexel above them because Drexel just went 4-2 with Fisher. So I don't know. I more data needed. I'm setting up my show matches this week to be a lot of these like 33 through 48 range. Like I've invited Florida, Kaiser, Conestoga, Davenport, Red. So
yes.
I'm trying to help us kind of flesh out this ranking. But Rochester Christian is a team that I don't believe in at all. I don't think Magic's playing the game really.
He's playing Apex, and he's a goat at Apex too.
Every time I look to raid someone after show matches, Magic is live streaming Apex. And so Rochester Christian has gotten a lot of love because I don't think people realize that Magic really isn't playing much.
I want to talk about something in chat real quick. Bluey is higher on Fisher. He's saying seeing Fisher at 23 is crazy because of the talent. I then raise you the counter question of what has Fisher done to show them they can utilize that talent. Also, how high is Fowles on your list of talent? Because I think he's the clear rope holding them back. Anyways, I just want to throw that question out there to chat. I want to throw a really funny point in here. This is NECC bias on my list, I won't lie. Indiana, not on your list at all. I got them at 38. And a lot of that is because they played Indiana Tech extremely well. Mm-hmm. And that was around the time that we played Indiana Tech, and I know how well they were playing. But there also is a lack of results, and you can make that argument for everybody here towards the bottom of the list. There's a lot of fun teams in here, too. Shawnee State's very hard to rank because they have a GC2. Shout out Spooky. Kaiser, a consistent roster from last year, but still struggle to find big wins. Mount Aloysius, that's one of the most interesting rosters. And we've talked about Pig Beast and Skippy a lot, but I'm not sure, again, where is their ceiling? Where is their floor? I think I would make the argument that Mount Aloysius should be higher. I think they could be top 40, but I can't do it until I see more. I also think I'm pretty low on Davenport Red. I think I'm too low on Davenport Red. I'll admit to that. I think that's my only very wrong take on this list. I feel good about the rest.
Indiana has losses to UTK Orange with Joe Bro,
Fair.
Kung and Jeezy, and a loss in Game 5 to Michigan State's B team.
Okay, well, you know what? Maybe they fall off my list after tonight.
Yeah.
It's been a long week. I made this in the car ride here.
And that was in CCS as well, so...
Okay, 2 wrong rankings, all right? I'm wrong about Indiana, and I'm wrong about Davenport Red.
We really did top 48 for the conversation, because I think right now, 37 through 48, I'm not super confident, which is why I'm setting up show matches to have teams
hard.
play. It is.
And we're the only 2 people who are doing top 48s. Colleague is doing a top 32.
Yeah.
And so, you know what? I mean, clap it up in our heads for us. I'm glad we're doing this. But also, Bepic, this was hard. This was probably one of the hardest rankings I've had to do since I've joined the committee and since we've started doing this. There's just too many debates and too many teams who, on paper, should be fine, but are not going to be when they actually get on the field. And this top 40 to 48 section will change extremely heavily.
We kind of looked at what... Oops, I forgot to transition, my bad.
Twitter.
Yeah, I was looking, scrolling Twitter during the show. We did kind of look at what the CRL seeding was, in the sense that we looked at each pool. But we don't have enough time to really talk about how the CRL seeding shook out. I think I disagree with it in a couple of points, especially near the top, but I don't know exactly how many people are ranking. I don't know their system.
We don't know who is really on. We only know 1 or 2 people who are even on that committee.
I don't know what they value either, because it could be different for CRL. They could use ranked ranking like in RLCS.
Which I think towards the bottom, it's pretty obvious they did. I'll make that hot take now. I think towards the bottom teams of the top 4 of each pool, which would be do my math real quick, the 40 to 50 to the late 30s window, I think they didn't look at a lot of the results that we do. I'm going to say that straight out. And then I can also make the argument for ETSU and Indiana Tech. I just hate, again, we have to play Indiana Tech. I want that roster to make league play, but I can't because we play them. But it'll be a fun weekend.
Hire us to seed, CRL. We'll do a great job.
Hire him.
I got no life. I do a lot of research on my rankings. So that does do it for our show. That was a solid hour and a half. And shout out to UT Chattanooga. They have a beautiful esports complex. Thank you to Nutty for letting us be here. He had to supervise us by being in the area, so we're keeping him here at 10 p.m. after he just ran a LAN. He was here like 6 a.m.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
He was here this morning.
Oh, my God.
So thank you very much to Chattanooga. The Scenic City Invitational is going on. It's on the Twitch channel UTC Esports _. Watch it tomorrow. Even if you're not around, have it up in the background. Leave your PC on while you go get groceries or something.
We'll be at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
We'll be at a Comic-Con. It's gonna be such a blast.
Now, do you want to say hi?
Yeah, guys.
Yeah, well, let's bring Nutty in here.
What's up, fellas?
We're about to do we're doing our little outro. We're talking about
Yeah.
why people should come tune into the show tomorrow.
Plug the LAN.
Oh, you should. Absolutely. Yeah. Show up. Doors open 10 a.m. tomorrow. That is also when Winners Round 1 starts. We will probably see, I believe, what do we say? Kennesaw, Akron?
Have we determined it?
I believe we were leaning that way. We have not confirmed it yet,
Correct.
but it will be announced, I'm sure, very
Yes,
soon.
absolutely.
Wake up tomorrow
Yeah.
and be
if you
want
to give us a Collegiate exclusive, you can tell us who the first stream match is.
Have you decided?
I have.
Oh,
All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, the first streamed matchup tomorrow morning is in fact going to be St. Edward's versus Indiana Tech.
okay. Ooh, it's a banger series. It's a banger series. It's a testing ground for both teams.
I also have decided the first lower bracket matchup. Hold on, I don't know.
Whoa, wait a minute. Are we going
Okay.
off projections already? You know, let's
Alright.
hear this. Let's
Yeah.
hear this. I'm intrigued. I want to know who Nutty thinks is losing tomorrow. I want to see what the TO is biased towards, so the players have clips. Oh, all right.
Here, get closer.
Yeah, we gotta make sure we can.
The
see it.
streamed matchup for lowers round 1 is actually going to be Huntington and the retirement home.
All right.
That's going to be a nice matchup.
That should be a banger.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
want to throw predictions on those 2 stream matches while we're talking about it?
Yes, I do.
So let's talk about the uppers first.
Yes.
So Indiana Tech, St. Edwards. Best of 5. Who do you
Indiana Tech 3-1.
got? Uh-oh.
I think I'm going to take Indiana Tech in a sweep.
I'm also taking
And a
Indiana Tech in a
sweep.
sweep. I think Tater's got to lock in, and
I
Wellis
agree.
has to find his place. It's
They're good for a
3-0.
game.
Wellis was
3-0.
looking good at the end of today as well.
At at the very end of today.
Yes.
3-0 for me, 3-0 for Nutty, 3-1 for Bepic. All right, all in favor of Indiana Tech. Now, down to losers, we're talking Huntington, we're talking UTK Retirement Home. Let's go. I guess we'll go reverse order this time. Give me UTK. It's going to be early. They're probably going to be hungover, let's be honest.
Yeah, they are.
Give me UTK in 5. I think they survive a reverse sweep attempt.
Okay.
Guys, I really think Huntington might do it.
They can.
They could. If UTK gets murked game 1, it's over. It's over.
Give
in 4.
me a Stinky Bus Legacy series. Give me Huntington in 5.
Ooh, okay.
In 5.
I thought you were going to say 4.
I'm going to say
You're
UTK
biased.
Retirement Home in 5. I think they have to reverse sweep.
Wow.
I think they.
So we got reverse sweep predictions.
Yeah.
We got double reverse sweep predictions, and then we've got Huntington fan. I can't believe that you just went against Huntington. That is crazy.
Yeah, and it's nothing personal, boys. I when I was watching them against Georgia today, I don't think they've got a play style that works for them yet.
5-minute game, 1 overtime. UGA won, by the way. That is what we were referring to.
That was how it started. There were some tech difficulties for the record with
true.
Stinky Bus. And then they turned it around, but it was still kind of
it was
labored effort
wishy-washy.
against Georgia. So they got to figure it out if they're going to beat UTK Retirement Home tomorrow. But that's happening tomorrow. UTC Esports _ Great land so far, Nutty.
Fellas, dude. Love these guys.
All right, guys. Everyone, thanks for watching. Go follow us on Spotify. Collegiate Exclusive.
Go rate it 5 stars.
Rated 5 stars. You know you wanna. We're also on YouTube. MrBepic. I don't know. Follow
like
us. Go like it. Go subscribe. Go hit the notification bell. Yeah, the ending screen's gonna say starting soon because I didn't set up the ending screen. Bye, everyone.